Why?
It's another nickname. You're now the prophet, right? You predicted the pick. That makes you really clever.
Finally, I got a good one, eh? But yeah, I don't know. I'm not a fan of this. I think this is a terrible idea. I mean, you had the option to counterpick if you wanted to with that Rek'Sai for Chieftain, but we're not going towards it. Hacker going to go towards the best jungler, in my opinion, on the patch, Hecarim. You've already got Jinx, great setup here. So you've got a ton of opportunities here for Ultra Prime to go towards like full team fight. I think you lock in your support on the next pick if you really want to, or even like with say like LeBlanc being left up because of the Rek'Sai pick, opportunities for like Twisted Fate. Even if you wanted to take something a little bit funky for allies in the top side, I wouldn't hate it. Just with the availability of supports here, you're not in too much trouble. But maybe with the Rakan one here, they just decide to go towards something like the Nautilus of the Leona, just so they're like matching supports.
I will say, in terms of color scheme, TT are on it. Like,
that is true.
The synergy is off the charts right now. But for Ultra Prime, total opposite. Bit of a disaster in terms of the color scheme. But I will say, very strong picks for the patch. So ultimately, if that's what you're going for, if you're trying to win at League of Legends, which I would say is a reasonable goal if you're a competitor, then Ultra Prime looking pretty good in the draft. I am really warbling here. I'm just talking nonsense, and we're only in game 2 of the day. I need to pull myself together. We're into the second round of bans here. Ultra Prime so far with a jungler, a mid laner, and an AD carry. You'd anticipate maybe some top lane bans, but maybe just go for the support bans, get yourself a good matchup. Or, yeah, I guess, yeah, they blind pick mid, right?
Yeah, I think that's the plan here, is like get Cryin a good matchup, and maybe even ban away like the Ahri as well in this mid lane and just try and get Cryin into a good spot. Seems to be the best bet. And it just feels to me though, like, yes, TT are going to ban away some of the premier supports, but like, you got the premier AD carry on the patch for Prime, premier jungle on the patch, one of the top 3 mid laners on the patch as well. And then you look across at TT, it's like Lee Sin has honestly kind of just fallen out of favor. Again, getting hit by those fighter item changes and not having huge impact. And the Xayah Rakan is an okay bot lane, just not exactly the strongest. So it doesn't really feel to me like you've got power picks coming across on TT side, whereas Ultra Prime really do feel like they have control here. So maybe we get Yuka going towards an Ahri and you can try and play down towards this bot side with the Silas ban for Ultra Prime. But yeah, it just feels like Ultra Prime are kind of drafting more for current patch, whereas TT, at least, you know, they know they're not going to be able to make playoffs, so maybe this is just more of a comfort.
Yeah, perhaps. Some shenanigans across. And hey, look, birds have feathers. Feathers require the wind to be able to fly. SouthWind picking up feathery bird. Huh?
Puff.
There's logic
helping
there.
In that regard as well, you know?
Yeah, puff of wind. Feathery bird. Look, it all makes sense. ShiauC, however, he knows that if you mess with the bull, you get the horns, and he's definitely looking to give the horns over to Puff and South.
Well, I have to see if he's going to be able to do so, as this is going to be the Ahri locked in for Yuka. So I actually like the last 2 picks here for TT. I think Ahri, Sin, super strong lead jungle that you can try and play through. And as well, the opportunity to try and look for these roams. Plus Gnar, just a super safe blind pick at the moment. I've actually played a little bit of solo queue, or not solo queue, in like just the league in general, and having a ton of fun with him. There just doesn't really seem like there's a huge amount of terrible matchups for him right now. Jayce does have the range advantage, which does help out a little bit, but it's still not like you're going to be completely bullied out of the lane. It's just like, hey, you'll get pushed in a little bit, but with the control that you have through mid, you can try and enable that top side.
Yeah, we'll see how that top lane matchup is going to go. Alias should have at least a small advantage, but a lot of that is going to be down to how these 2 players pilot their champions. I will say, excited for UCal versus Cryin here with Ahri versus LeBlanc. It's probably my favorite matchup that we get in the mid lane at the moment. It's always a lot of fun to watch, but actually, I really like the composition TT have gone for here. A lot of aggression, a lot of playmaking ability, right? Lee Sin Ahri is just an insane mid-jungle 2v2, but a lot of presence down in that bottom side as well with Xayah Rakan. You can be so aggressive. Feels like TT have a lot of tools to be really proactive in this game and potentially find themselves early advantages.
Yeah, I can see where TT are kind of looking here through that mid-jungle. It just feels to me that when I look at Ultra Prime, like the super long range that you get with the Jinx and the Jayce is kind of hard for them to combat, especially if you've got Alistar kind of playing bodyguard for like engages from Chieftain, engages from you, and you've also got really good counter engage with both the Alistar and the Hecarim as well for anything that TT tries to stop. So it's going to be kind of difficult for Puff, I feel like, to navigate in these fights, which is why I think just in a straight up team fight, it would give the edge across the Ultra.
Now, TT going to be hoping they never get to the late game, even team fights, right? They're hoping that 5v5s should never occur, that they should find an early lead and snowball from there. The one downside is that they have struggled to make that happen. But that said, I think TT have got more wins under their belt than people kind of give them credit for, right? Because yes, in terms of series, they're 2-10, but in terms of games, they're 8-22, right? They've got 8-game wins. It's not like we've never seen TT win individual games. So hopefully we get to see a little bit of something out from them here today. Cryin got out of position, but has distortion, so just slides on over that wall, pulls himself out to safety. It's TT now an opportunity to get some deep vision in the Ultra Prime jungle. SouthWind is stood on a wall. Does need to be cautious not to stick around too long, but it looks like everyone will walk away.
And now, it's not going to make a massive difference that Cryin had gone to the store. You tend to take it first anyway. And again, seeing the double ignites in this mid lane is, I know, Munch, why you enjoy this matchup so much. Like, double electrocute, double ignite. It's all about seeing how heavily you can trade and seeing if you can outplay your opponent. And I'm going to be keeping my eyes on Yukon and Cryin, both to see who can get the one up, but also just keeping your eye on Chieftain, because Lee Sin definitely has the advantage in the early stages in the jungle matchup to try and impact that mid.
Certainly can get an impact going in the mid lane as Ultra Prime being a little sneak in the jungle. Hacker starting off on the enemy blue buff as Chieftain none the wiser so far. He's just going to be going for his red buff, and by the positioning, I'm going to assume he's going for the full clear, or perhaps knows what's going off. As they've got a ward in that jungle, they know that the Hecarim hasn't started on the blue buff, and if he's not started on the blue buff, well, the odds of him starting his red are pretty slim. So going for that invade, I like this from Chieftain. Feels like we're having a very cerebral jungle matchup so far.
Yeah, I would actually say Chieftain's imagining that Hacker has started like on his Raptors into base, because at least when you're solo starting, Hecarim can clear those Raptors super well with Q, and Hecarim actually doesn't like the clear that Hacker has actually gone for. I still agree with the way Hacker's playing. It's just because you end up having to like solo clear one of the two of the single camps, it doesn't quite work out as well for you. There's a big trade here from you on the top side.
Oh,
but now Ultra Prime here.
Never mind. I thought Chieftain was in trouble, but then despite the Grump heal, he's back to full. Walks away happily. I like the attempt there from Ultra Prime to contest that, but it's not going to happen for them. Both junglers now will return to their own sides of the map. SouthWind making an attempt to cost him his flash. He's 1 HP. He's burning down to the ignite. One more auto from Elk finishes the job. And that's going to be a 2v2 kill from the Ultra Prime bottom lane.
ShiauC, that was nasty. Gets the headbutt back onto SouthWind when he looks from the engage. SouthWind tries to flash away. ShiauC gets the knock up. I mean, that was just sick.
Yeah, ShiauC's a beast, man. I'm telling you, like, dude, remember E-Star ShiauC? That was something.
The E-Star,
I missed that team.
ShiauC and Wei, level 3 every game trying to kill someone bot lane. That was the only thing that team could do. And it's surprising how successful they were at it.
Like, we've said it a million times before. Ignite the bottom side. ShiauC. We tried to compliment you, mate. We tried our best to big you up. And immediately, it's a disaster. Oh, well. You know, it happens, Dagda. These things happen. You can't control fate, as they say. I don't think that's a relevant sentence, but it was quite fun to say.
I'm glad you're having fun. ShiauC wasn't. But yeah, I mean, look now, kill for kill in the bot lane. Both kills going towards the AD carries. So ShiauC holding on to his flash as well. So maybe you can still see some setup coming in from the bot lane. But honestly, I think thus far, Chieftain kind of more focused on trying to see if he can get in and affect some Hackers clear than actually get in and affect some of these lanes, which is honestly the big difference maker for Lee Sin against the Hecarim in the early stages, is that you can actually be more proactive. Hecarim has the ghost, which can help out a little bit, but you know, the upfront damage that this Lee Sin has, the ability to get into lanes, and is just so much stronger for the Lee Sin in the early stages. finally we're seeing Chieftain move towards this mid, but UCal's super low on mana, so I'm not sure they can make this work.
Flash Charm would be available. Cryan's just going to go in, though. UCal has to play towards the bottom side of the lane. Hacker has to use Ghost here, which means ultimately TT cannot win the trade just because they didn't use a summoner.
And ShiauC here as well to see if he can help out. At least for Hacker, Ghost is going to be up relatively quickly, and also just gives the opportunity for Cryin to shove in and get the reset for himself.
Do you have a bit more of a follow-up? And that's big damage onto Hacker. He's gone before he can even move in the play. Very nice pickup coming through. That's the pick potential we talked about with this Lee Sin, Ahri, Rakan.
Yeah, it's just weird to see Hacker stick around for that long. He'd already backed away. Cryin was pretty much out of mana. Just trying to overcommit there. Now, like, Cryin, you don't have mana. Like, yes, you will spot him out, but just back away. Like, reset at this stage. Especially as you desperately need to try and help out here, but Cryin going to stick around as you kind of shoved that wave with SouthWind, so now will be the tempo advantage for TT again.
Certainly will. 2-1 on the scoreboard. A little start for TT, and Hacker with a bit of a fumble towards the end of the play, as they were just desperately trying to push that wave in, but then going back in for the play, despite Cryin having absolutely no mana, having no damage available to them. Just a little overzealous, really.
Yeah, that's the thing for me. I just don't know where their damage they were planning to have come through was coming from. Hacker had already used Ghost, so not getting the extra ramp-up damage from the E, and also just the passive from the Hecarim to deal the extra damage. ShiauC wasn't really in position. You have no extra damage from Cryin. Like, you're better off just resetting in that case. Either way now, TT gets that advantage, and I want to see now if UCal can start to move. Has that push in mid? You have the opportunities to kind of look towards, hey, look, Jayce slightly overextended in the top side, especially if you can hold on to that wave. Slow push starting in this bot wave for TT, and now UCal looks like he's going to meet up with that, but good wards here from Ultra Prime. Will spot out and potentially shut down this play from UCal. TT maybe considering going for it anyway.
Considering it, Chieftain's around the area, but Dragon could be the option. We're 7 minutes into the game, which means if you can get the Drake going now, be able to potentially play for the Herald as well. In just a minute's time. Is Pup and Southwind do manage to get one plate for themselves down in that bottom lane? Drake not going to be a priority for Chieftain though, as he's gone over to his red buff. Managing to stay even in farm this time around. Last time it was Hacker just managing to pull a huge farm lead out in the jungle. This time around, much more even game between the two jungles.
It's just a much slower. Just a much slower pace game, and again favors Hacker. Hacker wants to try and like get to a point where he hits that level 6. We got invade here for TT though. It's only a 2-man, so Ultra Prime going to feel pretty alright to hold on to this. They now move back to this bottom side. Hacker again is just staying around this lane to make sure that Elk can actually get some farm.
Buff being quite aggressive. Remember, game number 1, we saw a very disastrous dive about this point in the game around that bottom lane. This time around, the dive won't be committed to by TT. The tower plate, I don't think fell there. I'm pretty sure there's like 1 HP on the 4th plate on that bottom tower. That is a bit of a disaster for Puff. He's going to be very sad about that one. Not the end of it.
He'll be alright. I mean, they still have a good amount of push on the spot side. Simply because even though it's only one tower that's going to cross, you can see very quickly Puff is starting to get control of this lane. Tier already picked up, working towards that Manamune. This lethality stall. His eye is so good at clearing waves. It's UCal.
Yeah, big damage onto Alias, but a great flash coming out from him, trying to survive as long as he can. UCal now tanking the tower that's ramped on up. One more shot won't do it. The Spirit Essence healing UCal up. And we'll be able to keep him alive. TT with a nice dive in the top side now. We go towards the bottom side of the map where Ultra Prime want to answer. Trying to go for these Crooks, but Puff is there too soon. Denies the Crooks himself. SouthWind in trouble. The chains onto Puff. There's just no damage coming out from Ultra Prime.
Still though, forcing them away from the tower. Getting Elk much needed gold after he'd already lost a couple of those waves to his own turret. So at least it's helping out a little bit. Top lane dive could have been a little bit smoother for TT, but success was there. In the grand scheme of things, just trading some turret plates isn't the end of the world.
Certainly not. Hacker will be able to even get himself this Drake on top of things. So, New finding the advantage up in that top lane. You can see a 400 gold lead for him. A similar lead in the mid lane for UCal as well. But down in that bottom lane, it's all about Elk. Okay. Well, Chieftain's dead, I guess. Cryin, it turns out, does have damage. I just said Ultra Prime didn't have damage. I was wrong. They definitely do.
Yeah, there's a couple of different builds that you can go for with this LeBlanc in the early stages. You can go towards a, hey, I'm going to be a little bit more passive lane and look towards that Lost Chapter. You can be like, you know, the kind of the medium build, which is I'm going to go for the blasting one. If you get this Orc Shoes, you're looking for kills. And you can see there, like, the damage that this early Magic Pen gives you just means you're dealing next, or like very, very close to true damage. And Chieftain kind of felt the brunt of that.
Yeah, he definitely did. You can get a replay of this one. Oh, it's the dive in the top side, actually, is good not to start things off, but he's back at stun.
That's the thing, doesn't get the stun and actually knocks Alias away from Yukal's Q as well. So that's why it ends up a little bit funky here. And as you say, right, you end up with that healing coming through off the passive, but yeah, here we go. I mean,
he didn't even hit everything.
That's kind of disgusting.
He missed the chains.
Yeah.
He's still just one shot.
Yeah.
Oh my lord, now we're playing the mid lane.
Go.
Yukal gonna be feared and taken down as Cryin gets himself a second kill. That's 4 stacks for the Dark Seal as well. Cryin is starting to ramp up in this one, and it's exciting to see Cryin playing on a carry, doing a good job as well. This is a player that last year built a reputation for a much slower pace of game as Chieftain. Mate, come on, pull it together.
Well, I was about to say Chieftain really does, because, I mean, Yukal had the advantages in this lane. Yukal was the one with Everfrost, and Chieftain now hasn't actually had an impact in this lane, which is where we said TT could actually try and play around. It's Cryin who gets the solo kill, now sets up for Hacker, and suddenly this Luden's Tempest is very close to being finished for Cryin, which is going to work out pretty damn well for him, especially with the Dark Seal already there too.
ShiauC going to try and play bouncer here. Good little headbutt to... Oh my days, ShiauC just keeps SouthWind far away from Elk. Sacrifices himself to protect his AD carry. Very nicely done there. Will go down, and it is a pick for TT, but ultimately Elk survives, and that is the ultimate goal for Ultra Prime, as is always the case for this team.
Good guy, ShiauC, but Ultra Prime trying to see if they can find a pick now. Cryin will be spot on the ward. Just remains to nothing.
SouthWind move over.
Either way,
I
I think you're still in a good spot here for Ultra Prime. LeBlanc can still do relatively well if you want to try and opt in towards the side lane, which is where we're going to see Cryin start to move over to now. Elk eventually will start to win out on this mid push and just give a bit of time for Ultra Prime to scale. And you already have like the push advantage for Alias in the top side. He's already got, I was going to say he has a little bit of chip damage, but actually has no chip damage on this. But even for Ultra Prime, just sitting back waiting for these initial items to kind of come through will give you a ton of opportunity to try and play around these side lanes and just let Elk farm for free in mid lane. So this is where I'd rather see Ultra Prime put their attention. Whereas for TT, again, it's like trying to get Chieftain out on the map. You can like look for Yukal to push bot, rotate mid, look for potential dives. This seems to be like how TT can get this game in their, well, a little bit more in their favor gold-wise and kind of accelerate it in their favor.
Yeah, it feels like reasonable amount of pressure on Puff in this one, right, to be able to carry during the mid game. One of the issues that you will find with this Xayah build is that you do a lot of damage early on, but it falls off pretty hard later on into the game. It does quite often feel like I've played a lot of this build. The late game team fights feel like you just don't do anything once people start to build some resistances. So it's going to be a matter of the mid game fights, and it's kind of true for this entire composition coming out from TT. Lee Sin, a similar story. We'll have to see if TT can continue to keep momentum in their favor, because it does feel like Ultra Prime doing a decent job to maintain presence in this game, right? Because TT do have the lead, but it's not like they're uncontestable, right?
It's feels to me like TT kind of need that big combo to work out, because a lot of this size damage kind of comes from others as well with this build. So if you can get like the Gnar wallop or a Gnar stun that sets up well for Puff to get a ton of these feathers out nice and quickly, maybe Yukal following over the top with that Orb of Deception, that's where I can see a ton of damage coming out very quickly. But if that isn't the case, it comes a little bit more difficult, especially with the range on Ultra Prime. That's a hard one to stop.
ShiauC gets denied. Puff with a good little ulti there, but ShiauC is damn tanky. He'll walk away with his life, at least for now. An attempt there from the Ultra Prime support, but won't be able to find his target. And it means that TT can just post up here in the mid lane for as long as they want. They can just keep this one going. It's going to be very difficult for ShiauC to punish, but Cryin at least can get some damage in. Ultra Prime really want to protect their mid lane tower. They want to contest here, but 5 seconds until the Drake comes up onto the map And TT will be the ones in position to capitalize.
I actually really like the way TT are playing this. Again, we kind of said, look, Ahri has pushed on bot against LeBlanc, and they've been doing a good job of playing around that. Shove in bot, they try to get the engage on towards the mid side with UCal running across. That's why ShiauC went for that very quick engage onto Puff. Was like, hey, UCal is going to show up in a second, and we're going to be outnumbered, so let's see if we can get some of these crucial spells off, get some opportunities to push up on the wave and deny that dive. TT, though, will still get that dragon off of the fact they had that bot side pressure, so they're still playing around well with what UCal is capable of doing.
Is up on the top side. We'll be able to get some damage down onto this tower. ShiauC is behind enemy lines, but UCal, that wave effectively keeps himself safe up there, doesn't get dived. Herald now onto the map. Just started here. Looks like it almost reset, but Nu is able to stop that from happening. And perhaps he can get reinforcements from the rest of his squad. Elk caught up there. Nicely played by SouthWind, costing both of his summoners though, and now a fear across the team. The rest of the squad from Ultra Prime arriving, but so are TT, and Chieftain goes in. Nu about to turn into Mega Gnar. TT having to back away as the rocket goes wide from Elk. Nu now, Mega Gnar against the wall. There's a wall up, there's a boulder, and 2 kills for TT.
Ultra Prime overextend to try and make the pick, but they don't have the knockback from that Cryin.
He just jumps back again. Puff, low HP. Shot was blocked by SouthWind though, and TT can return to the Herald once more.
Yeah, UCal going to play referee here, separate both sides. But as you say, TT win the fight. They get the Rift Herald as well, and Charm now.
Oh, Everfrost doesn't quite connect there. SouthWind's in trouble as well. And Chieftain's like, man, I really want to finish this Herald, guys. Can you not all die? Okay, guess the Herald will get out with his life. But it will be a pick on to SouthWind, and another kill crucially for Cryin, right? That's 6 Dark Seal stacks. You mentioned the Ludens has been finished alongside his boots. Feels like a lot of weight is on Cryan's shoulders in this game. He has to carry the fights for Ultra Prime.
Yeah, especially when you look at like his ability to burst people out. This was a really nice engagement with SouthWind, and just unfortunate that he wasn't able to try and finish it off. Elk, I don't even know how he reacted with those chompers in time. But here you can see Hacker tries to get the knockback onto Puff. Puff not in the correct position, just gets knocked into the wall instead. Then Ultra Prime just don't have the damage in the tank to try and finish this out, but already we're fighting.
We certainly are.
Now we're not fighting.
We're also not.
Yeah.
I guess ShiauC went down. I couldn't really see in the bottom left what was occurring, but yeah. I guess it was just another pick for TT. They got themselves the Herald, they got themselves a Drake. 2 minutes until that next Drake. Cryin moves up to this top side now. And we do need to see Ultra Prime trying to take control a little bit here. Right now, Puff is pretty much gone uncontested. He's had some great ultis to keep himself safe as well. That ult will be available for the next fight. 3-0 and 2, 2 items already. Once he gets that 3rd item mark, very likely to go towards a Sherilda. Sometimes you see things like a Collector as well. Puff is going to be terrifying. Puff is going to be very difficult to deal with for the next fight.
We're gonna get a replay here of but it looks like there goes down. ShiauC overextends. Great engage, but again, just numbers advantage here for TT in a better spot to follow up. And Cryin like is getting some kills, which is nice. And he will be pretty terrifying if he can get accelerated, because there's not a huge amount of people on TT that are actually that tanky. Even when you look at Nu, he could be in trouble if he's in mini Gnar form and ends up running into Cryin. But I think Cryin is so aware of, you know, the quickness being an issue, charm being an issue. Like you've got to play very carefully around both the Ahri and the Rakan, which is why we're seeing Cryin kind of teetering around, being able to actually follow up on a lot of these engages, but not quite being in position to do so.
Yeah, it feels... it's close, but it's not perfect. You know? Like, there are a few moments where it feels like these teams are lacking a little. ET won't prove me wrong here as they drop down the Herald in the mid lane. Chieftain does stand on the Flame Choppers, but walk away here. Herald will get a charge. Without, will it actually, the damage? No, they don't quite manage to finish this one off. Smite would have been available there for Hacker.
Yeah.
I feel like they probably could have denied the charge, to be honest, but didn't commit to that one in the end. To be TT maintaining control. 25 seconds on the Drake, though, Dagda. Perhaps an opportunity for Ultra Prime.
Yeah, I think that's probably the thing that Hacker is worried about. I'm not sure if he has a second charge of Smite underneath that, so maybe aware that he wouldn't have it up for the Dragon if it's about to spawn in 10 seconds. But TT completely control the area. Ultra Prime won't be able to contest us, which is why we're just seeing Cryin moving his way on up towards this top side and just going, look, we'll try and trade this top tier 1 for the dragon. And especially as you can see, Ultra Prime already kind of established themselves here on this top.
Now towards that top side, though, they want to try and contest. Hacker could be in a really bad spot. The charm is going to go wide, though. And Hacker is just going to dip on up towards that top side of the map. Look at ShiauC right now. He's behind enemy lights. I don't think they know he's there, and he will walk away with his life. Cryin try to escape. There's a quickness, though. The charm, the Everfrost, everything will land. And it's a kill for Puff in the end as Cryin goes down. And that was a bounty as well, so even more gold into Puff's pocket.
Yeah, I mean, TT have full control of this game. They've got pushing mid, pushing bot, towers are falling. And as well, now they'll get that tier 1 on the top side here. Full control of Ultra Prime's jungle for Baron. It just feels like everything's coming together for TT here. Ultra Prime, the coordination on these engages hasn't quite been there, and TT are doing a really good job to respond.
And it's worth talking about once again that this is a team, TT, where it's not like they haven't had wins, right? It's not like this is a team that cannot get a singular game win on the board. They have had good games. It's just that they can't find that consistency. And so when we do see them playing well, and when we see blunders from Hacker in the early game where he went too far forwards in the mid lane and things like that, against this style of composition from TT, they will be able to find advantages. And now 5,000 gold up for themselves and hoping to push to a third game in the series. And that's good to see, honestly, because I'm relatively certain after that previous game, it is actually impossible for TT to make playoffs. But it's good to see that they are still here to show what they're made of. They're still here to compete.
And look, they've been playing really well in this series, not only just like individually, but also with how they want to try and play the map. So it definitely, like, TT bringing it back, I will say, from game number 1. Still has been a few curious decisions here, but I really like that when we're looking at like New's build here, that he has actually gone for the Hullbreaker. Hullbreaker is actually the bane of Jayce's existence, because he's not really a champion that can really do much with Hullbreaker, so doesn't really get to build it, but it just means that in the 1v1 you just automatically end up losing. So now for Ultra Prime, you need to find ways of just grouping up the Hacker. That's not how you do it.
What was the plan? I genuinely have no idea what the plan was there. Gets absolutely railed. Now a chance for Cryin, but Featherstorm just gonna come on out. This is the frustration of playing against the Xayah when you're playing an assassin, right? This is why Xayah used to be so popular for so long, and it does feel like Wanfong has kind of brought her back into the meta, right? Wanfong was the guy that was playing this very regularly back on 12.2 even. He was more than happy to bring the Xayah out, and it's starting to catch on elsewhere as well. Incredibly strong pick in the right hands of using that toolkit very effectively.
That is a really good point. I'm currently Googling Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron soundtrack so I can find that song where it's, you know,
what?
It's a movie. It's like the Disney movie where basically it's a horse and they're trying to break the horse, but he's like, I can't be broken. That's Hacker right now. Just cannot be broken. His spirit is wild and untamed. And that's why it may not make much sense to you, but he's just showing TT that no matter what they do to him, cannot be.
I think that film's called Black Beauty, mate.
No, it's definitely Spirit.
It's a very old film. Yeah,
this is a cartoon.
Sure, right. I'm not arguing that that film doesn't exist. All I'm saying is that film was already made. Disney's remade it with a posh look to it. That's all I'm saying. What a classic. Hecarim,
You Can't Take Me. That's the song. You Can't
Hecarim,
Take
not
Me
that beautiful.
by Brian Adams. There we go.
Not a pretty horse.
But if you have Brian Adams singing, yeah, I was gonna say that automatically makes it kind of beautiful.
Yeah.
He's pretty spot on.
Salvaging.
Yeah.
Salvaging. You know, Tarzan's soundtrack, very great. Phil Collins, bit of a classic there. I feel like back in the day, you know, just get one of these like male singers to just do your soundtrack. They did it with Oliver and Company as well. That was Billy Joel. Man, those were the days. Give me more of that.
Yeah. I will say though, for Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron, I went back to watch it recently, and it kind of ruined that movie for me because I now realize how terrible Matt Damon's was. Matt Damon is Spirit, and his voice acting is probably the worst thing I've ever. It completely ruined that movie. I'm surprised you haven't. I would have said it was like pretty big.
This isn't Disney.
Isn't it? Is it Pixar?
No.
Is it DreamWorks?
DreamWorks.
Ah, okay.
No wonder I've never heard of it. Nobody's seen any of their 2D films.
It's from the producer that brought you Shrek. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. It says
That's
it right
the only
there.
film anyone's seen from DreamWorks. Okay. Attempt onto ShiauC here. It's not going to happen. Actually, that's not true because everyone saw, what was it called? A Shark's Tale with Will Smith in it.
That is true.
Absolute garbage. Just like this team fight. As Puff gets some damage out with the feathers, but actually getting aggressed upon. It's going to be more people going down. Health loss really low from Ultra Prime, but the damage is coming on through. They're actually going to win this fight. I can't believe it. Puff has gone down. 2 kills for Elk. And TT, against all odds, managed to lose the fight.
Somebody once told me Ultra Prime was gonna roll me, but TT smarter tool in the shed.
I didn't think the broadcast could get worse today, but Dagda brings us to a new low by singing All-Star Midcast. What a time to be alive.
Here, look, you know what? This is my day off. I'm allowed to be a little bit funky on it, right? But yeah, this is a weird one for TT. Oh, sorry, this is just a weird fight in general from both sides. Great shockwave there from Ali's, or means that there's just not much that TT are able to kind of bring back here. Ultra Prime kind of turned that one around.
Yeah, they certainly did. They certainly did. This has been magical. Magical. It's going to be Baron on the
This
cards
is DreamWorks' new movie right here. That's what.
Yeah, this is a DreamWorks movie right here. This is a non-Shrek DreamWorks movie before our very eyes.
There's definitely other good DreamWorks movies.
TT are trying to get control of Baron. They're still 6,000 gold ahead as they lose that fight.
Did they
lost
do
a Drake off
Madagascar?
the back of that one. Madagascar was okay. I'll give you that.
What? Madagascar was
The
great.
scene where they run in slow motion across the beach, shouting Alex and Marty. No, that's a great bit. Eats the toilet mints. Great bit as well.
Road to El Dorado was a bit of a banger for me.
I've never seen that.
Really?
I want to see that one. I have
They also did
TT
Kung Fu
though.
Panda.
They are trying to...
They did Chicken Run!
Did
Alright, we
come-
win. They did Chicken Run. Sorry, now continue.
What are you talking about? That's odd.
Chicken Run is on their list there. I don't know. Blame Google, not me. Team fight.
Maybe team fight. Maybe team fight. We'll see. They've been toying with the idea of this team fight for a solid 5 minutes at this point. And neither team is really willing to commit.
See, the thing is, usually I'd be worried and kind of like hold off on my points, but I'm kind of glad that they were willing for me to run through the DreamWorks book before.
Yeah, we've got a fight though, finally, as ShiauC, completely invincible, kicked away there by Chieftain, who, I'm going to be totally honest, has had a terrible series. Saving ShiauC's life there, but it looks like it'll be enough for Ultra Prime to slowly but surely contest this one. Are they willing to pull the trigger? I'm not sure. Hacker will have to ult over the wall if he wants to try and steal this one. They need vision. It's not going to happen. They're just too afraid to pull the trigger. And Elk, the only one bold enough to step up, gets a couple of waters in, but just has to back away. Hacker will rejoin his team. At least they'll get a mid-tier 1, but TT get a Baron basically for free with no contest here.
Yeah, TT were sticking around like they wanted to try and engage on that. I wasn't going to be the biggest fan of, but either way, TT now with Baron should be able to reset, shove out these waves, and honestly, look to start closing out this game. There's only one outer turret remaining here for Ultra Prime. And you've got great side lane push now with both Hold Breaker and Baron for new. Like, it just feels very easy for TT to set up as a 1-4 push and just take over this game.
It's pretty good. 10-7. Well, feels like TT might be able to get a winner. Dagda, they might be able to push us 3 games. Hold
This
it on
is
to
where I
hope
bring
here.
out the Pixar movies.
ShiauC played it a little dangerous there, a bit fast and loose, but that's the ShiauC we know and love. Currently 0-5 in this game. It's not been looking too pretty from him. But there have been some moments from Ultra Prime that fill me with confidence here. Just not enough of them. Now playing the jungle as Puff trying to maintain control here. Featherstorm used only onto ShiauC. That's a big cooldown. Elk gets caught by a charm though. Beautifully done by UCal. That's the pick that TT have been looking for. SouthWind underneath the tower here. UCal still 3 stacks on his ulti. Another great charm. There goes Alias. 2 more stacks for UCal as he dives a little bit deeper. That will be the tier 2 taking in that top side for TT.
And that was all that TT needed. Now the base will be broken for Ultra Prime. And you even got that wave in the mid there too, if they ever want to try and collapse down onto it. But Cryin tries to make the pick onto Puff. Can't quite get it.
I love how, if I couldn't see what was happening on the screen there, just the word "but" was way louder than everything else in the sentence. They just went back to normal talking volume. Yeah. One Nexus tower taken there in the mid lane, and TT have decided to back away from this one. New denied by the cannon minion. Can't take the Hex Gate as Ultra Prime race towards the Drake that is spawning in 25 seconds. Perhaps an opportunity for Ultra Prime to get some semblance of control. If they could get this Drake, they could threaten Soul in 5 minutes if they're still on the map.
UCal is here. Chieftain spotting the Krugs. We'll have that smite back up though, just in time for this objective. I always feel that's a little bit risky though. Like sometimes, depending on how these kind of fights can go, oftentimes having smite just to heal up after engagement can be kind of good. But we'll have to see if it comes into play. Ultra Prime started up. No real position here for TT just yet.
Look where there. The smite comes out from Hackett. That's going to be a Drake and Soul point. Pings on towards the base from TT. Are they going to be able to make the magic happen? Recalls have to come out across the team from Ultra Prime as everybody charges on in. TT will be able to at least get an inhib tower here. Potentially more as they continue to push. They've got supers in that top lane as well. Looks like they will just back away. One more auto. There it is. Okay, UCal finishes it off. I was a little worried that they weren't going to finish the inhib there, but now they can move towards the bottom side.
Yeah, I imagine they're just going to look for the resets, though. There's not really too much on the map for them to kind of set up here. New, probably going to just TP back in, make sure that he can push in on side lanes, and try and just spread this problem of the super creeps and make it really difficult for Ultra Prime. TT, though, just poking and prodding over the wall for the moment. I'm kind of surprised that Ultra Prime haven't been able to play at range a little bit better throughout this game. It's kind of been Hacker launched himself in a lot of situations where I think playing this a bit slow, using the rapid fire auto attacks, using the fact that you've got this Jayce, but TT and UCal specifically have been doing a pretty good job of like getting these charms to start off that.
Certainly have. That's been one of the biggest things about this Ahri pick, not just in this series, but in general. It's the charm flash plays that we've seen. Really, really impressive stuff. Certain players. UCal having a good fight there. Big damage onto this bot in Hib Tower as TT continue to flex the lead that they have. 9,000 gold up, but it feels like Ultra Prime, they need a miracle to win a fight at this point. They do have a 3-item Jinx, so maybe there's an opportunity if you know, there's a huge mistake that comes out from TT. Doesn't feel positive for Ultra Prime. And remember, this is a team that we're talking about still potentially being able to make playoffs, right? Ultra Prime are still alive in terms of that playoffs race, but we need to see a way more convincing version of the team than this, as their Nexus is now bare. They barely even tried to defend it. Hacker goes in. ShiauC will fall, as does Hacker. There's a knock-up and a takedown as Cryin will be eradicated. And it's just an easy fight for TT. 17-8. And we're going to 3, Dagda.
Yeah, for TT, getting a bit of pride, getting a bit of pride back in this game, managing to take down Ultra Prime. And I think a lot of that, again, props to UCal.